How are you? I didn't see anything inside.
No, no.
No, I didn't see anything inside. Is there any there?
Smile.
You're on candid camera.
That's right. That's it.
How you on? Not too bad. I'll see you soon. Did you get those? Absolutely beautiful. Thanks a lot. Don't. That's bad. I didn't know. Chairman of the National Sports Council, Chairman of the Sports for All Committee, National Sports Council, ladies and gentlemen, before you finish your meal and to expedite matters, I would like to call him His Worship. I'd like to call him His Worship, Councillor Jack Burke, to address you. Councillor Burke. Chairman of Cospoir, Chairman of the VEC, Deputy Commissioner. Is this thing on? Good. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for me to be here as Mayor at this particular function for the awards for people for their service to sports. I'm particularly pleased because I'm also a member of the VEC, and it's not often that we get the opportunity to give the people in the back room the plaudits that are usually reserved for the ones who are winning races or collecting medals of whatever sphere of sport that they are in. So it's a great pleasure, because without people like yourselves giving back what you got out of the sport, some of you still active in the sport, but giving back something to the young people around, the young people wouldn't be so actively engaged in sports as they are. And one of the first engagements I had in this term as Mayor was to go to Bruff for the start of the community games, and it was an astonishing sight to see the literally thousands of children and youth walking down the streets of Bruff to the fields where they were about to start their games. And it was a great illustration to me of the work that people do to ensure that children and the youth are healthily occupied, and otherwise they would probably be running the streets. And the concept of sports for all is a great concept, and I suppose in the times we live in, we have to think very seriously about leisure activities in the future, because man being the astonishing beast that he is, the scientist is ensuring that man is virtually, where work is concerned, becoming redundant, and there is no way in my mind that at any time in the future will we see everybody in this or any other country at work. There will always be the unemployed, because technology is ensuring that. But just because there is not work for all, it doesn't mean that there should not be occupation of some description for all. So I believe that the concept of leisure activity in the future is something that is going to have to be looked at very carefully by governments and local authorities and VECs and everybody concerned with the people, to ensure that you don't have the situation where there are young people wandering the streets aimlessly, or middle-aged people sitting in their houses looking out a window with nothing to do. There must be something to occupy people's minds and to ensure that they are healthily engaged. So for that reason I'm particularly pleased to be here, and I know quite a number of the people that are in the room here, and I would just like to once again say a hearty congratulations to you for your awards, and I would like to pay a special tribute to Jerry Burke and Mary Costello, who really organise all of this while they come to VEC meetings. They're really only telling us what they're doing, because they are the experts and we accept their advice. Congratulations to them for the great work they have done, and thank you for the invitation. Delighted to be with you, and with God's help, I might be with you next year again.
You'd be more than welcome indeed, Your Worship. I would now like to call on the Chairman of the Limerick City VEC, Mr. Frank Cledden, to say a few words to us.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Assistant Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen, might I join with you, Your Worship, in expressing similar sentiments that you have expressed in relation to the VEC, and as a member of that body yourself, Mayor, you are aware of what the VEC in Limerick have been doing over the past number of years in relation to sport for all. Granted that we run, which I consider, a very successful vocational education structure in this city, in this region, and expending close on £7 million a year in providing education facilities, we have not left aside the very matter of which we're present here this afternoon, sport. My committee, yourself, Mayor, Alderman Tim Lennon and Councillor John Quinn on my right, who are members of the subcommittee on behalf of the VEC, have over the past 12 months got to grips with the issue, and particularly with the financial contribution that we make. Directly of the £20,000 which is expended by the VEC to Sport for All, 12 or some figure close to 12 is expended to disadvantaged children in the region. The very many sporting organisations in Limerick have over the past number of years making representations for contributions. And the VEC over the past 12 months has now adopted a policy in relation to expenditure of public monies. And as a statutory body, it is incumbent that the monies expended by that body and any other such local authority would be truly and fully justified. Our intention is to continue the work which we have set about doing some years ago, with the cooperation and the advice which we receive from our subcommittee and our officers present, Mr. Burke and Mary Costello, knowing full well that whatever we allocate is being spent in the best areas possible. And as your Mayor rightly mentioned, sport for all means what he says. From the youngest to the middle-aged and to those of any age group that can be facilitated, they'll be welcomed by our committee. And what I might say in passing, that I am pleased that Limerick has been designated to a sporting centre by the present government on the last days of office, that at least Limerick has been recognised, or is being recognised, as a sporting area. And this would not be brought about were it not for the pressure that came from the various sporting organisations present here this afternoon and others who were not present, throughout the whole city and county of Limerick, who over the past number of years have been pressing for Limerick's recognition. I join with you, Mayor, and others in congratulating the winners here this afternoon and looking forward to seeing them again in the not-too-distant future receiving similar awards in Upper. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now it is my great privilege and pleasure to call on the chairman of the Cospoir, who need us no introduction, Mr. Ron Delaney.
Chairman, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, it's always a great pleasure for me to be in Limerick City, although today I must admit probably to being a little bit tired. I was up watching the American football. I'm sure a lot of you were joining me, and just talking to O Ceallaigh here over lunch and discussing the games reminded me of the one time I tried to play it when I was a student at Villanova University. If you can imagine, I weighed about 146 pounds, and the average weight, I suppose, of those fellows we saw last night was about 200 pounds. So after getting the ball once and running with it, I was quickly withdrawn from the game, and thereafter they named me Crazy Legs Delaney. I think they might have just called me crazy for having gone into the game, but it was the most enjoyable spectacle last night, and if it has made me a tiny bit tired coming here today. But I am delighted to be associated with this occasion, an occasion when we honour sportspersons who have put their work in more behind the scenes than out front. And I think sport is indebted, and Ireland in particular we're indebted to this sort of voluntary endeavour of so many people who, after their own career in sport and sometimes during their own careers in sport, devote themselves so tirelessly in the interest of further participation and furthering participation in sport. This whole principle of people devoting themselves to the detail of administration, of encouragement, of coaching, this whole principle is totally consistent with something that we on the Sports Council have promoted, Sport for All. I'm delighted in looking across the range of award winners that many of the sports in Sport for All are represented. I won't single them out, but it is nice to see that sports which play such an inherent part in Sport for All are so ably represented here today. So my congratulations to the award winners. My encouragement to them to stay involved in sport and to continue doing the very, very fine work they are doing. It would be remiss of me if on this occasion I didn't pay a tribute to Limerick City Vocational Education Committee and indeed Limerick City Sports Advisory Body and Sports Advisory Committee. From the outset, we've had the greatest of support from the committee, from the Chief Executive Officer, O Ceallaigh, and in particular from Jerry Burke and Mary Costello, who have supported us consistently in all the things we've been trying to do in the Sports Council in the area of promoting sport for all. I've had the pleasure of coming down here for many sporting occasions over the years, and I'm very conscious that if there wasn't a cohesion of support from the members of the committee, to the Chief Executive Officer, to the officers who personally have had this tremendous commitment to sport, our programme for Sport for All would not nearly have been as successful. I know today's occasion